Hey folks, how's it going? My name's Lexi and I really love tabletop games. So much so that we sit down together once a week, every week, here at the gaming table and review one together. I try to keep these videos short, under 10 minutes, so we can both find our next game. If that sounds interesting to you, I encourage you to press subscribe and keep watching. If you would like to go the extra special mile for the gaming table, you can donate to the channel using the link in my description box below to my Ko-Fi page. All donations go straight back into the running costs of the channel, so it is deeply appreciated. For today's review, we are taking a look at a game from Free League Publishing. It's a game I was able to borrow off a friend. It's from a well-known intellectual property, but I think it's one we're all going to be familiar with. This is The One Ring. Role-playing in the world of Lord of the Rings, from Free League Publishing. Adventures in the One Ring role-playing game take place between the end of the events of the novel The Hobbit and the beginning of the Lord of the Rings series, The Fellowship of the Ring. This is roughly about 80 years. This is a time in Middle-earth where a lot of ancient dangers and evil have begun to stir and move about the lands again. If your group is made up of ordinary folk, such as humans from Bree, perhaps a dwarf and even a hobbit of the Shire, generally you're going to go unnoticed. However, if your group has a ranger who claims descent from the Dunedain, your group is instantly going to be a bit more noticed. If you happen to have a wizard traveling with you for one reason or another, you are absolutely on the radar of the evil forces of Middle-earth and need to watch your back. Time in this game is divided into two phases, the adventuring phase and the fellowship phase. The adventuring phase is, well, adventuring. You're sleeping rough, camping out, fighting goblins or orcs or what other mean beasties are around. The fellowship phase roughly represents a kind of downtime in the game. You might not necessarily be at the complete end of an adventure, but you've reached somewhere safe where you can put your feet up. Somewhere where you're not roughing it and camping out every night. It's roughly suggested that a game session might start in an adventuring phase and end in a fellowship phase. I think that can really depend on the length of your session, and I don't necessarily see anything wrong in pausing in the middle of an adventuring phase if need be. I think the One Ring role-playing game really captures the tone of Tolkien's writing. J.R.R. Tolkien is one of the most influential fantasy writers for our time, yet not a lot of fantasy role-playing games are able to capture his essence. I do really think the One Ring has the vibe of Tolkien's Middle-earth down to a T. To build a character in the One Ring, you start by looking through heroic cultures. This indicates what race or ethnicity your character belongs to from Middle-earth. The options presented in the game are the Bardings. These are the folk who live in the city of Dale, which they've now restored after a certain lake town got destroyed by a certain dragon. You can be a dwarf from the line of Durin who reside in the Blue Mountain. There's the elves of Lindon, which cover all of the elves in the realm, it seems. You can be a hobbit from the Shire, a man from the area of Bree, or one of the rangers of the north. Each of these write-ups of the heroic cultures come with a descriptor of what your character might look like, a cultural blessing that your character gets to have, what attributes and skills they will be good at, combat proficiencies, and even suggestions like common names to these groups. Your character's attribute scores will be found in this section. Each heroic culture comes with an array that you can take for these stats. You can either select which array you would like or roll a d6 to find out what set of scores you get. This does mean you get a total of 6 options for how your attribute scores can be arranged, so you don't determine them yourself. I believe the game has set it out this way because certain heroic cultures are going to tend to be good at some skills over others. For example, hobbits tend not to be fantastic at strength, but they tend to have really high scores when it comes to the attribute of heart. A character's heroic background will tell you not only what scores they have, but also what kind of weapons they'll have and what skills are available to them. In this way, the heroic backgrounds in this manual are acting not only as your character's race or ethnic background, but also as their class. Class doesn't really capture everything that you get from your heroic background, but it's the best word I can think of right now. This game uses D6s and D12s. Something that does personally kind of annoy me is the game manual wants you to purchase specialized dice to play the game. These are the D6s, which indicate whether or not you have been successful at an action when you need to roll. You could substitute a regular D6 and just convert what these symbols would be to the appropriate number. That's what I would do if I was playing the game. The manual for the One Ring suggests there's 3 major types of rolls that your player characters will be making in a game of the One Ring. There's skill rolls, combat rolls, and shadow tests. The first 2 are pretty straightforward. You need to attempt something, a skill roll. You need to fight something, a combat roll. The shadow test, I think, requires a bit more explanation. As your characters venture through the world of Middle-earth, they're going to come across sources of corruption. Adventuring can be really taxing on your characters. When they come across a source of shadow, something like greed, malevolence, or something dark, they will need to roll to see if they can resist its influence. If they can succeed, they avoid being influenced and taking on points from the shadow. If they don't succeed that roll, they mark down shadow. This indicates how influenced your character is by the dark things they encounter. And the accumulation of this influence can have some pretty interesting effects on your character. The One Ring role-playing game manual is a very pretty book. There's these really sweet, sketchy illustrations of the different residents of the world of Middle-earth, as well as full-colour, rendered, beautiful landscapes of the world itself. It's definitely unique and I think fits Tolkien's vision for what Middle-earth might look like. I will also say that the book is really well laid out and it's pretty easy to jump from section to section. This is, in my experience, pretty common with Free League Publishing's manuals, but I always think it's worth a mention. If you are a fan of the Lord of the Rings, then of course this game is going to be on your radar. I think you're definitely going to want to check it out if you are looking to play a role-playing game in Middle-earth. I know we've had a few officially licensed Lord of the Rings or Middle-earth games, but I do think this one is special and it really captures the tone of Middle-earth and the mechanics go along with that tone well. Besides, it feels like we need a new officially licensed role-playing game for Middle-earth every couple of decades or so. You can get a copy of the core rules for this game for about $55 US. You do get everything you need with that book to run and play the game, but I think I would be really tempted by the supplements that are out there. You get some really unique locations there that aren't included in the base game. So those are my thoughts about the One Ring role-playing game. What did you think? Please feel free to share your thoughts in the comments down below. While you're there, I encourage you to like this video and perhaps even share it with a friend who you think might find it interesting. If you would like to keep up with the gaming table, I encourage you to subscribe and turn on notifications. That way YouTube will tell you when I've next uploaded. Pretty much any and all interaction with the channel is a huge help. It gets more people seeing what I'm making on the CRB algorithm. If you would like to go the extra mile for the gaming table, you can donate to the channel using the link in my description box to my Ko-Fi page. All donations go straight back into the running costs of the channel, so I deeply appreciate it. I want to thank you all for watching and discussing the One Ring role-playing game with me. I hope you're all well, and I look forward to seeing you next time at the gaming table. Bye!